All right, modern mill, huh? This archetype got a number of upgrades in recent months slash years. So archive traps, one of the best. They've always had that for a while. If your opponent searches their library this turn, you can pay 0 rather than this spell's mana cost. And opponent mills 13. So there's a ton of fetch lands in modern. We also have 4 copies of Field of Ruin as a piece of interaction slash way to force our opponent to search and shuffle their library to enable our archive traps. In the most recent D&D set, we got Hideous Laughter. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of the library until they've exiled a total mana value of 20 or more. So not only does this card exile instead of milling, so it gets around things like Eldrazi and things like Endurance, putting cards back into the deck, but against decks like Hammer Time and a lot of these Lurrus decks that have very low curves, this card can exile, 12, 18, sometimes even 20 plus cards. It's really impressive against a lot of decks in Modern. Then we also have Fractured Sanity. Mills 14 for 3 mana, or it mills 4 and it cycles to let you draw another card. And Drown of the Loch. We've seen this card in Standard. We've seen it in Historic, in Rogues. Just honestly, it's very popular in Modern too, because like I mentioned with Hideous Laughter, curves on decks are cheap. And this deck's able to put a lot of cards into their graveyard. So you're able to have a counter slash kill spell modal split card. And we got a second crab, right? Like we've had Hedron Crab in Modern for forever. You get to play 8 crabs. Your crab starts are often your best in this archetype, and now you get to play 8 of them. So this deck is a real deck in Modern. So there are a number of people that have put up results in leagues and across tournaments with it. It's a deck that's been like a fringe player in the format for a little while. Hopefully, we can dodge the Yorion piles that exist around the fringes of Modern during this set today. But in general, I think this deck is reasonable and competitive. I'm excited to see how it goes today. And big bucks, no Yorion decks. Ah, the old 0/0 paired into the 0/3. A tried and true Moto Classic pairing. They're also a Lurrus deck. Our hand doesn't really do anything, right? Is there some value in having the graveyard hate against a Lurrus deck to start? This is better. We'll bottom the counterspell here because we're on the play. I want to bottom the counterspell still, I think. So there's value in holding the Hedron Crab so we can play a land with it next turn and immediately mill before it dies, but there's also the fact that Lurrus heavily implies a discard deck, so the crab's not necessarily safe in my hand either. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and run it out to get the guaranteed resource efficiency, since there's potential downside to holding it as well. So they could kill this before we get a chance to do anything with it, but they did not. God bless. Save targets always yield. Oh, they're Jund. Explains the 0/3. He says before getting dumpstered. We're just drowning this Dragon Rage Chandler. I think we are. Just a resource efficient play. And they are a Lurrus deck, like I mentioned, the deck tech, which imply their curve's going to be pretty low. Oh, they're Jund Shadow. Cool. Cycle this to try and land drop. Nice. Go ahead and kill their stuff. They have 40 cards left in their deck. They currently have 4 creatures in their graveyard. This gains us 3 life per creature in their graveyard. Exiling the creatures also makes their Lurrus a bit worse. Oh, you know what? This just kills the Skyclave Shades, right? So I just like do this and gain 12, it kills their thing. It's kind of guess. Morning, Draven. Zach Braggery. Bargery. Thank you for the year and a half. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Sedge. Those are 2 shadows. That's 1 shadow. Disposable Hero. Thank you for the 22 months. Welcome back. You would have milled them first. Nah, I think it's important I take their threat off the table. So you have 36 cards in deck. Still pretty far off of being able to kill them. Got 6 power in play here. We are at 26, which is nice. I'm going to hold this land in hand, because next turn, if they don't have a discard spell, I can go Lurrus, cast Crab, play land, mill them. Oh, should we have fielded them? Yeah, taking them, there's a good chance I don't have a basic forest as well. I did see the Unite patch notes. I tweeted some commentary on them. I thought they were very reasonable. They were a little bit less detailed than would be ideal. Like, I wish they would have given us a little bit more clarity into, like, what some of their upgrades or downgrades mean. But I like that they didn't just, like, nerf everything. They also, like, side graded things, or, like, they made some things better and some things worse in a lot of the same characters. So I looked at a bunch of variations of this archetype before playing this set today. And the reason why I decided to play copies of Counterspell, you're definitely right that Counterspell's bad here, and I'm going to sideboard it out. That being said, there's a lot of decks like Elementals and other Omnath decks that have been going around in this format that I think are what's the word I'm searching for? That are very that you definitely need counter magic against them. Is the words I'm struggling to say. Yeah, they didn't have a basic forest, so if I would have been down 6 cards on this mill, but they wouldn't have had the Tarmogoyf in play if I would have sequenced differently earlier. We have 24 cards left in deck, so there's a chance that Hideous Laughter off the top next turn lets us win. Yes, that definitely seems like the case where they're trying to balance it so every Pokemon has moves that are worth playing. Exactly. Ideally, there should at least be situational times where you want to use every move on the Pokemon. I think is correct, instead of having definitively best moves. Okay, so we get to chump block the Shadow and the Tarmogoyf, and then we get to draw next turn. I think we're out of it at this point. So definitely want this Fatal Push. I want these Relics and these Soul Guide Lanterns. I don't take these counter spells out because they don't play to the board. I don't think Surgical is particularly important in this matchup. I don't know that I want to give up our Lurrus for Ensnaring Bridge here, because this does break the companion requirement that we have. So if I board this in, I'm just going to board in a Profane Memento to gain some life here. Nah, I'm going to leave a Surgical Extraction in. You can take something away from their Lurrus on occasion. Zer, thank you for the 27 months of support. It's quite a while. Welcome back. It's me, your dad. Thanks for the 2 years. Thanks for dropping me off some of Jeff Bezos' money. I appreciate it. Yeah. Surgical extraction is effectively build 3 in a lot of the right case scenarios. Oh yeah, they did have Cruxa. Yeah, Profane could be because of Crux too. I don't know. I'm boarding in 2 Soul Guides and 2 Relics on top of our main deck Crypt Incursion, so I feel like, oh, you know what? The Visions of Beyond should probably not be in my deck if I'm bringing in a bunch of relics and stuff. So this is again just one of those things where it's like, well, this hand's not actually very good, but we're playing against a deck full of discard spells, so I'm pretty sure we're supposed to keep it. Like, it has a removal spell. These relics could technically be anything. Snorlax is very good. Yeah, he's basically a requirement on all the good teams at the moment. But I think that's also because he's kind of unique in the role that he fills. I would be surprised if losing your companion is worth the ensnaring bridges and where. Because I feel like a lot of the places where I would want ensnaring bridge or matchups like this where I also want Lurrus. I think I agree with you. The sweepers are probably better. If I'm being honest, when I was looking at all of these deck lists, I didn't connect the fact that Lurrus. I didn't connect the fact mentally that Lurrus had to be given up for the bridge. Bridge feels like a leftover of a bygone era from before this deck could play Lurrus. I'm gonna hold on to these fetch lands for as long as I reasonably can, so that way, if we draw some crabs, we can get some extra mills in. Well, it's not a monkey, at least. I wonder if they're Juns, they can play Tarmogoyf as a budget monkey. Very, very possible. Do I play this crab? I have to give up a fetch land to do it. It's probably fine though. I also just leave it in hand. I don't know if they have another discard spell, I get pretty sad. Oh, I'm dumb. I could have used the fetch land I already have in play. I just missed 3 cards. 6 cards? I missed 6 cards? No, because I would have had to fetch this anyways. I missed 3 cards. Thanks for the 32 buds. My secular power it is. Gwaif is a budget monkey. In fact, it's probably cheaper to put. It's probably cheaper to put. Um. Oh, I'm dumb. I needed to let them. My small sequencing things on here have been way off. They milled it anyways, but I should have waited to see if they surveilled top before fetching, so I could have cleared a card they decided to keep. I also maybe should have left one up here to gain two off of this. I flubbed a lot of small things in these games, in this couple of games here. I will say I really like the idea of having sweepers in the sideboard of this deck as opposed to having the ensnaring bridges. I definitely wish I had a sweeper in my deck right now. Hey, thanks for the 2 years, Pelly. Yeah, I've been enjoying the night stuff too. Game sweet. Glad to have you along. I'll push Scourge off a cliff here. All right, I deserve that. I deserve that. I milled one of those too. There are a lot of slops that game. I don't know if that's representative of what that matchup's supposed to look like, but our sideboard's definitely wrong. Yeah, these bridges are just like not worth giving up your companion. We're basically playing a 13 card sideboard for this set. I don't know that Bond 2 sounds right. I think the idea of Damnation's probably a little bit better, but oh, as a budget Damnation, that sounds fine. All right, let's tighten it up for match 2. To the mouth breathing YouTuber commenter that comes in and decides to post that they're upset that I made so many mistakes and they're changing the channel. Your account's already been shadow banned, and I don't need your shitty view anyways. You try playing perfectly with the deck the first time you play it. Don't worry, I'm sure you did. Everything you touch. Mouth breathing YouTube commenter. I will say I've been enjoying Modern generally speaking, but something that is still true 3 years later is I delete more comments from shitty people on my Modern videos than I do for my Arena videos, and I post twice as many Arena videos as I do Modern videos. That's not to say all people that play these non-rotating formats are toxic, but it is to say that there are way more toxic people in these non-rotating formats than there are and not. And I think a big part of that is people get so invested in these because they have to spend so much money building decks on average. It's hard for them not to be invested. All right, we've milled the Delirium deck, chat. We've built the Soul Flare deck. Yikes. Yikes. Oh no. Oh no. Opponent's just like rubbing their hands together right now. Lego, thanks for the third of you. I appreciate that. Welcome back. They have the Soul Flare. All right, we're about to get attacked for 8. Well, shit. It's been a rough It's been a rough couple of days for playing offbeat decks in Modern chat. Fox was a little rough yesterday. This is not going swimmingly. I'm sure our next opponent will be a Yorion deck. I mean, no joke, this is definitely an Ensnaring Bridge matchup. So Surgical could come in. Bridge can come in. Soul Guide Lantern is free to have up. Relic, and then we cut these Visions of Beyond from a Counterspell. Honestly, Counterspell's probably better than Drone. There were 41 people at Modern FNM last week, and the only 4 O's were both mill. Yeah, the deck is very reasonable. Like, I threw away the first one, and then, like this is just, like, how playing decks like this in Modern go, right? Like, if someone has your number, like, you're gonna die. You just have to accept that. Magic's a game that has an incredible number of non-games. You have to accept in these non-rotating formats that sometimes your non-game is decided when you register deck lists. This deck just has like legitimately fast draws without racist people these days. Yeah. Magic has a lot of honestly. After playing Runeterra and watching a lot of Hearthstone 2, card games just tend to have a lot of matchup variance. And Magic's matchup variance tends to be a little bit more pronounced in older non-rotating formats like this. Yeah. In Magic, your matchup variance is even higher than in games like Hearthstone and Runeterra, because in Hearthstone and Runeterra, you get to know what your opponent's doing before you take your mulligans, right? Whereas in Magic, you keep a hand that's like kind of okay, and then your opponent's playing a deck where your hand is dog shit, and it's just like, well, there really wasn't anything we could do. Lean on Soul Guide Lantern here. Yeah, I think so, BJ Roth. I think I'm gonna do some non-gameplay centered content for that game for sure. Some item rankings, perhaps, and then maybe some builds of different Pokemon that I've been enjoying that I have some opinions on, like what items you should be using on them, etc., what moves to take in what situations. SJ, thank you for the 17 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. So I want to keep an eye on their graveyard for deciding whether or not we want to pull the trigger on Soul Guide Lantern. I probably should fetch right away here, actually, because they don't have a black mana up to kill this in response. Great toxic YouTube comments on Pokemon content. I got a couple of people complaining about the pay to win stuff that people think everything is pay to win. And while there haven't been, man, they really don't want to lose to us. Uh Oh, you were the one asking about attack speed. So I don't know that we have stats on what the base attack speed is for the different Pokemon. I need to look at some of the charts that they have on Sarah B. Doesn't Emrakul turn off their deck? Yeah, but it also turns off our deck is the idea. So a lot of people have been sideboarding an Eldrazi like that. When I cast this Ensnaring Bridge rather than casting a mill spell, just get it into play. Yeah, the way the games industry has developed is interesting, sad, depressing because like what these game companies part of the reason why these companies have all moved to microtransactions is because the cost of what it would be to produce these games in 2020 is a cost that like a lot of people wouldn't want to pay, right? Like, if I told you, okay, this microtransaction game is instead going to cost you like $100 or $120 to buy up front, and there's no other things, most people just wouldn't play them, right? And then they wouldn't have a player base, and then the game would die. And those games live and die by do they have queue times and people to play with? They did activate our trap card. I'm gonna wait until their end of turn though. Yield until here. So that way they don't get things to do with Soulfire this turn. No, I don't think it would, neighbor. Yeah, not only have production costs ramped up because the games are bigger and more ambitious, but just like inflation, right? Like, I remember paying $40 and $50 for new um $40 or $50 for new games, 2 decades ago. And like just baseline at inflation, AAA games would be like 80 or $90 today, assuming all production costs stayed the same, which they haven't. Yeah, that too. Games as a lifestyle are also popular too, right? Like if you have a game where you just pay an entry fee to start. I mean, you Veil of Summer. I bet I'm getting Veil of Summered. Um, if you have a game where you pay an entry fee to start, like the game's just going to disappear and not get content updates, right? Because eventually people stop buying it. We just mailed them 14, huh? I have the Ensnaring Bridge in play. They brought in Lost Legacy and Necroamoeba. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and surgically extract a Soul Flare here. No, probably should have done this before I milled them, huh? So they have Veil of Summer, Thrun the Last Troll, not mana of creature land 2 or less. They are actually just cold to Ensnaring Bridge. Zero ways to kill Ensnaring Bridge, and they're 60 right now. Cool. Good. I mean, this is why. Oh, I forgot to exile the last one. This is why Bridge is good, right? Like my opponent actually is just stone cold dead. Yeah, and honestly, one of the discussions that comes up about predatory, not even just with like games like Unite, but also Magic too, is oh there was a trophy here. I forgot. I didn't. Maybe I missed a trophy. We'll see. Um, one of the things that comes up quite frequently. There's one trophy right here. I now I need to go back. So I'm gonna go back and check the tape and see if there's a trophy in their main deck or in their deck still. Um, One of the things that gets me about when people talk about things being predatory is that people think something being predatory means that it's expensive. And just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's predatory. when I describe something as predatory, especially in the games industry, what I mean by that is they've implemented a system that abuses psychological factors to encourage people to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do if those psychological factors weren't in play. Is like the TLDR. So, like, for example, something that I don't think a lot of people realize is predatory, but it is daily quests. All these games that are free to play, even non-free to play games, have daily quests sometimes. That's a predatory feature. It's a thing to get you to log in every day to make you feel like you're missing out if you're not logging in every day. Daily quests exist to create compulsive behavior. And honestly, to give Magic Arena a thumbs up in this department, while Magic Arena has daily quests, games that let you pull up daily quests so you can log in, twice a week instead of every day are actually less predatory than ones that have are less predatory than ones that don't. The ones that make you log in every day. Yeah, daily deals are predatory. I'm someone that's like very capable of just like not playing a game if I am like, or very capable of like not logging in personally if I'm not enjoying whatever quests or whatever they're giving out. But I know that that's not true for everyone. Yeah, it's fear of missing out. The two big things that are predatory that there's three big things that the gaming industry leverages that are very predatory. The first is fear of missing out with things like those daily deals. The second is loot boxes, a la booster packs. And the third is obfuscation of currency, where it's unclear how much things cost because you have to put one currency into another currency into a third currency often. Got me. I've been Bajuka bogged. We lose soon around. I punted against Jund. We gave an 0-3 Jund player the pick me up they needed. We put them on the scoreboard. I don't know. I mean, like dailies on Arena, like what? You're gonna get like 1,000 gold per day, and you need like 30 booster packs or 15 booster packs to get a mythic. Like, opponent is milling themselves 3 cards. Deal Arena. Oh, 18. It's about 1 in 30. Because you get one in I think the wheel is 1 in 6, right? So it's 30 packs, 1 in 6, or is it 5? I forget exactly what it is, but with mythics that you open it, because you also open mythic wild cards inside of boosters. But if I remember correctly, the math ended up working out that between the wheel and the ones you open in packs, it's about 15 packs per mythic wild card. Thereabouts. 15 to 18, depending on where you fall. And again, like that discussion there is the obfuscation is predatory, exactly, right? Like, how much does a mythic wild card cost? I don't know. I can't tell you exactly. It's not because I don't understand the system, it's because the system has loot boxes and the currency is funky up. Alright, and Hideous Laughter's probably lethal. And by that, I mean they definitely have another copy of Veil of Summer in their hand, so they'll get to. This doesn't target. That's great. Noted. Yeah, you can give an upper ceiling on what it'll cost, but yeah, EDH templating. Yeah, you draw a card, opponent. All right, I'm gonna Hideous Laughter you now. This card's actually pretty bad in this matchup, huh? Because they have a lot of like 6s and 8s and 5s and stuff. Yeah, there's a number of mill cards that are designed with EDH in mind. Opponent trying to figure out why their Veil of Summer didn't work here. Okie doke. Do I want to change how we're sideboard at all? No, I don't think so. Just run it back. Run it back now, y'all. Maybe a Spellskite for Goyf trophies. Eh, I'm not always going to have Ensnaring Bridge. And if I draw Spellskite and don't have Bridge, it's pretty bad. I think Spellskite's mostly there for when you want Lurrus to be good. In fact, I probably should have boarded this in against the Jund deck that we played. No, I think the Drown and the Counterspell are both pretty reasonable. It's probably tag Soul Flare in a lot of instances. Tasha's is good design because its power level scales against the power level of the deck you're playing against because good decks have more cheap spells. That's honestly accurate. I'm super excited to have a product being added to Historic that's going to push creature decks. I really hope it's enough to swing the pendulum back around to attacking and blocking being important in Historic. I liked the Strixhaven archives, but they definitely pushed the format too far off of attacking and blocking being important, in my opinion. One Man Cold, thank you for the 7 months. As a random aside, that easily has to be the worst part of. No, that's not even true. It's not the worst part, but one of the side effects of COVID-19 and the post-plague landscape that we live in is every time you cough or feel like you have a cold, you're like, ugh, I'm probably supposed to do the responsible thing and go get a test. Am I? I don't want to. I don't want to get people dead. Is this allergies or am I? Thoughts on my list is running Rebuild over Hercule, so you can board it in against less all-in artifact and enchantment decks and not feel bad about it. Because then when it's not good, you can just cycle it. I think I want to get my fetch land down here. If we put Lurrus into the main to have a chance to draw it? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe. Yeah, it's brutal, Pelly. My local school district sent out a note for the fall saying that they're offering free weekly testing for any students that's voluntary. And they said it'll just be a saliva test. So I think that's probably something I'll have the boys do. Basically, just have to spit in a tube once a week. Standard 22 for Is It Giants. So I think I'm gonna decline Is It Giants because unfortunately I think any Is It Giant deck I were to build would simply be a bad Is It Dragons deck, and I try not to build worse versions of existing things. Yeah, so there's a trophy in their hand and two trophies here. So they boarded in a third trophy, it looks like. They have Emrakul here still as well. It's noteworthy. Maybe I'm supposed to save the surgical for the Emrakul. Hopefully this hits Emrakul, honestly. Hopefully they draw Emrakul, honestly. That's what I'm hoping for. Murderous Rider, my crab. Lost Legacy, come at me. One of the nice things about Laughter, too, is even if I end up milling their Emrakul, um, Hideous Laughter is exiled all of these cards, so they're gone forever, which was nice. So opponent could end up flooping an Emrakul into the bin at some point and reshuffling, but they also don't have any pressure in play. I feel like my opponent being in the tank here on this Lost Legacy makes me think they probably shouldn't have boarded it in, right? Like, if you don't have something that you like had in mind to get rid of with this, like, what are you doing with it? Fractured Sanity, sure. Maybe they had intended to name Hideous Laughter, but I already cast one, so they didn't want to name that. Could be reasonable as well. This is definitely our best milk card against them. All right, they're down to 13 cards and still have Emrakul in their deck, so. Well, no, they were sitting there not looking at my deck. They were waiting to name something. Yeah, it's a real question. Like, can we just like sit here and play regular Magic for a bit? Can we just like drown in the lock or counterspell a couple of threats and like wait for them to draw out? Maybe. Or they could discard Emrakul to hand size. Yeah, that's fair. So we really need to draw a Relic of Progenitus or a Soul Guide Lantern. Surgical would also be okay, but it'd be worse than those other two, obviously. The classic opponent is down 9 minutes on clock on Magic Online. One of the many reasons this application struggled to gain popularity ever. The timer system is so bad. Yeah, honestly, Hideous Laughter would be a great draw too, so I wonder if they name that. Oh, yeah, okay. An opponent acknowledging that Hideous Laughter is one of my better pulls and exiling it from the deck here. Okay, well. They just discard Emrakul to hand sides. We can Crypt Incursion now. It's fine. I don't know that that's good, but it's fine. I mean, if they want to do the hand size thing. I'm gonna counterspell this mostly because the counter spells, their drown's gonna be useless at some point when they discard Emrakul. So might as well just keep the crab around for now. Hey, chat. 12 more turns, 11 cards in their deck. Now this is a peaceful crab, chat. Look at it care for this Hedron. It loves this Hedron. Violence is not the way of life for this crab. It is a peaceful creature. Honestly, I think I'll take a land. Sorry, crab. There's two other trophies over here. Ten more turns, chat. 10 more turns. Yes, please keep casting those spells. So remember, there is likely an Emrakul in their deck right now, so Archive Trap is not lethal. Traverse the Ulvenwald resolves. Forest has entered the revealed card zones. It sure has. It sure has. Now Surgical Extraction is actually a good draw because Surgical Extraction will let me see if they have Emrakul in hand and give me the green light to Archive Trap them. Obviously, Relics and Soul Guide Lantern still very good. Okay, now I think we just chill because we're not under any pressure. Because the longer we wait for them to draw, I think we wait until they're like trying to go. I think we wait until they have 7 cards in their hand. Because if they start holding cards to discard to hand size, that means they probably have the Emrakul. If they play a discard spell, we'll Surgical in response just to like giddy up and go. Yeah, the traps are interesting designs. I wasn't playing standard the last time these were around, so I just like Crypt Incursion. I'm gonna Surgical Veil of Summer. And then I'm gonna Crypt Incursion. Take a screenshot here like it's, 1995, because this application doesn't remember what cards you've done. How did I do that? Windows key Shift S lets you quickly grab a screenshot. Okay, so they're putting 11 cards back into their deck, which means they'll have 19 or 17 cards here. And then I'm gonna get to archive trap them out of 13 of them. I can just cast these for 5 mana, Navier. I don't have to wait. So they're gonna take one of them. Because this is a discard spell, but alright, 3 cards left in their deck. We milled the Blood Crypt, a Swamp, and a Bajuka Bog. Man, imagine putting Emrakul in your sideboard and then losing to mill. Honestly, these games 2 and 3, I feel like really showcase the power of our deck being able to play through. Why is the art so low quality? That's just like a magic thing. As someone who uses magic art and thumbnails for YouTube videos, it is very difficult. Like high resolution images of magic art basically don't exist for a lot of pieces. If you ever see artwork in my thumbnails, it looks a little bit fuzzy. It's because I really wanted to use the art of a specific card, and there just isn't a high resolution version of it out there. Yeah, Hideous Laughter art showing off some of its power there. If Hideous Laughter had been a normal mill spell, we'd have lost that game very easily because we wouldn't have exiled a bunch of stuff. Yep. Bottom the second surgical here. So most discard decks in this format right now are Lurrus decks. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and play a land tapped here and wait to play the crab until I can play a fetch land right after it. I think is correct. Just try not to expose it to a removal spell if I can avoid it. Save targets, always yield. Looks like we'll be playing against Heliod Company. It's not a deck I've seen in a long time. Yeah, I'm aware that those sites exist, Nitrick. I have them bookmarked. They're missing a significant number of cards. As in, they're missing most of them. So trust me, I've looked. That just milled 18 cards with Hideous Laughter there. They have 21 cards left in their deck. You know, I'm honestly not sure that Visions of Beyond is a card that this archetype is supposed to be playing. With Hideous Laughter being one of your key mill cards now and it exiling, this card gets pretty significantly worse. What do you play in that slot then? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that, but think we're just passing here. We'll hold up Drought in the Loch / Fatal Push. Ooh, you could play Thought Scour. Yeah, I don't hate that. It's like 2 cards, draw a card. Hey, Pit Panther, thanks for the 15 months. Welcome back. Um, so if I let this happen, I can Fatal Push one and drown the other, which turns off the Heliod. Whereas if I drown this directly, the Heliod's staying a creature this turn because I didn't have anything leave play. So I'm losing the crab with this line, but I think it's correct to let this come into play and happen. So that way I can Fatal Push this turn. And I think I cash these in, cash one of these in as a gain 5. So they're definitely playing 4 collecting companies, right? So we'll surge. They have 15 cards in their deck. We'll surgical 1, and then this mill's 14. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The old Exaxes. All right, so Fatal Push seems good here. Profane Memento seems great against their creature deck. Surgical seems fine because they're a combo deck. Counterspells coming out because we want cards that play to the board. And just trim visions in the post board games. Could see that. Think this is an Ensnaring Bridge matchup. I guess Lurrus isn't particularly important here. Just try not to lose to their mediocre beats. Yeah, their removal is exiling. So Lurrus is less exciting. Yeah, this is great. Profane Memento on 1 into Crab land on 2. Gets a little bit of life gain going. The Spellskite encounters from Heliod. I'm pretty sure Heliod is you control. Okay, so now that we drew Crab, second Crab, we'll go Crab on 1 into Crab land triggers Memento on 2. Save targets always yield. I technically miss out on some life gain this way, but I mill 3 more cards, which I think is better. Did you take a crab or Memento? I took the crab. Deal. They are very cleverly fetching basics. I guess they can only fetch basics with that. Nice, nice. Build 16 cards with Hideous Laughter. You'll love to see it. We got a Walking Ballista here. I think they usually play 2 of this card. I actually haven't milled that many creatures. There's only 3 of them in there. Did I just kill the Skyclave now to play around a Veil of Summer? I think so. $26 cards in deck for the opponent. Okay, we can just cast that in 1 more card. Something to note is opponent could definitely have Endurance in their hand right now. It's a card that's in the range of their deck to play. So they're going to hit us for 4, and then they're going to put 3/1/1 counters on something here. Well, they can pitch to cast Endurance for free. I think I just do this to spend my mana for the turn. It's only gaining like 12, but I think it's correct. Take a peek at how they sideboarded. 2 Veil of Summer. So got some Skyclave Apparitions, a bunch of Heliads in hand. They do have a second Walking Ballista. Doesn't look like they have any copies of Endurance, is good to note. The fact that they haven't had any non-basic lands here, preventing us from murdering them with these Field of Runes. Field of Rune cannot target a land we control, and it cannot target basics. Poor Crabby. So I have to throw 2 of these away this turn. And then we have to draw Ensnaring Bridge or bust. Yep, yeah, opponent has a non-basic land in hand that they've chosen not to play. Very heads-up play from the opponent. Yep. If we draw an untapped land, Archive Trap plus Crab could potentially give us enough life gain off the Memento to not die next turn. Crypt Incursion. There are... Well... That's a technically not dead yet moment. Because I could exile 2 creatures... Oh wait, they have a bunch of creatures in their bin still because they stopped me earlier. Okay. Okay, so you're saying there's a chance. Take a chance on me. And now they're down to 19 cards in deck. So if I draw a fetch land next turn, we kill them. Fetch land would mill 6 with this, and then this is 13. So any fetch is lethal. Come on, give me a land. Beep. All right. Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, lizard on a chair. Take my hand. We'll make it, I swear. Wait, is that lethal? We're dead, right? Damn. So this gives this a bunch of counters. Close game. All right, we get to the next game on the play. I think I'm happy with how I boarded. Let's run it back. Our inability to field a rune there was huge. Lucas, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel this morning. If you're new to the channel like Lucas, thanks for dropping in today. We're hanging out, playing some Modern. We usually play a Modern deck most mornings to start. Usually I try and play something different every single morning. Also have a YouTube channel where I post decks that are worth watching every single day. So usually there's 3 to 5 Modern videos posted there each week. If you're into Magic Arena, we also do some Historic and Standard 22 on that. Following Modern each morning, we do some variety stuff in the afternoons. We're currently playing through Uncharted 3. I've been dabbling in a little bit of Pokemon Unite, the new Pokemon mobile. We're going to be wrapping up with that later today. My opponent actually boarded up to 65 cards, by the way, of note. I mean, if you could sideboard in a way that lets you effectively have more starting life total, you'd do it, right? No, I think it's actually fine. I actually don't think you want to do things like board in your whole sideboard, but I think just like having every card that's kind of okay in your deck post board against mill is more than fine. I think what they did is perfectly appropriate. So don't put bad cards in your deck, but activated my trap card here. Yeah, the whole sideboard messes with your mana ratios, is accurate. All right, they fished up a Walking Ballista here. And there's one Heliod in exile, but maybe means they have 2 to 3 more. And there aren't any in their graveyard that I can surgical. So this could be a game that we get comboed out of them. All right, Laughter. If we don't get comboed next turn, we might get to kill them. They're down to 14 cards in deck. That exiled a bunch. Oh, there is a Heliod in the graveyard. You're right. Good catch. All right, we'll take care of that this turn. And honestly, we should just be surgically something that's a 4 of anyways. So that way the Laughter is likely to kill them next turn. Oh, they're probably gonna time walk us, right? With the Ranger Captain. If they do that, I don't think they can kill us though. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. They have 22 total converted mana cost left in their deck. Rats. Red Cap Lord, thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Are you dead yet? GG! Noise, noise. That'll do, pig. That'll do. All right, so we punted our first match into the ground. I feel like I've played relatively decent Magic in these last two. This deck's actually been pretty interesting to play. It's effectively like it's like a blue burn deck that has some interaction in it, for lack of a better description. Only your burn spells deal 14 and your opponent starts at 53 life. And all of our best draws start with a 1-drop creature. Yeah, that's definitely accurate. Yeah, definitely, Mike. And especially given the landscape of the current modern format, Hideous Laughter has been averaging probably 13 to 15 cards when we cast it. So, to give Magic Online credit where credit is due, the queue times on Magic Online leagues, while sometimes they are related to low player population, even if it can queue you right away, the Magic Online leagues queue sporadically with a range of different times. Like if it could pair you in 20 seconds, it doesn't always do so because they made it variable to mitigate people being able to queue into each other for record padding purposes. So part of their queue times are them intentionally doing something that's actually very good. And also makes stream sniping more difficult because you can't hit it at the same time a streamer hits it and know that you're going to queue into them. So credit where credit is due. They did a good with that. I tried Simic Aggro in 22. I have not. Yes, they do also have an absurd number of queues compared to the Magic Online has more queues than any other card game that exists digitally. And it's not particularly close. And to highlight for people that aren't familiar, this is just modern. There are 4 modern queues. There are 5 Pioneer queues right now. There are 6 standard queues at the moment. Legacy has 6. Vintage has 4. Pauper has 5. Commander has 4. And then there's all these specialty formats past that. Like, whenever people talk about um like Arena not being able to support more play modes, so you can have multiple accounts though, Mike, is the thing. Let's be honest, though, to the Pioneer, because I've heard from multiple people doing Magic stuff recently that Pioneer is actually really good right now. I can't validate that because I haven't played it, but I've heard from more than one person that that current format is very reasonable. Okay, so they're playing the cycling deck, or sorry, the Cascade deck, probably Rhinos. But I consider taking a deck for it. Let's say yes. If you wanted to send me money to play a Pioneer deck, I would accept your money to find out if what the kids are saying is true. I mean, there are a number of decks in this format right now that are casting big, expensive spells like Omnath. I think having more counterspells to stop those from hitting the board is important. Cast Ancestral Recall. You're right, that did feel pretty good. Maybe I'm supposed to cast Crab here instead of the Laughter. Laughter's just more resource efficient. Alright, they have 18 cards in their deck. That milled 10. Thanks for the 4 months, Fennelly. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Okay. So. This actually is probably another matchup where I want these Ensnaring Bridges rather than Lurrus. Surgical could be fine. I would take a good Pioneer deck for 50, like I'm taking good Modern decks for 50. And by good, I mean it's posted multiple 5-0s or it's done well in one of the challenge events. So, the Hoots tournament is happening. It's going to be August 21st, though. I had said the 15th on stream a couple of times, and I apologize for the confusion. I had some scheduling things with getting a second co-commentator I had to get sorted. And I also kind of want to try having an event not the exact weekend of to see what that does for player counts and viewer counts. And the sign up page is not open yet because I had I'm working some logistical things I had to work through with Melee and Cool Stuff Inc. because they changed their billing system on the back end. But Amazonian is going to be my co-commentator for the 21st. Another excellent arena content creator. Bring to Niv is good in Pioneer. It is, Limpton. Thanks for the biddies. I think I'm going to board like this. Let's give this a try. And yeah, fail for Unite games today. I am not going to be playing ranked in Unite on stream at the end today. We are going to be playing Unite. We're going to play some casuals. I think I'm gonna try out Mr. Mime and some other characters I haven't played before. Yeah, I'm excited to work with her. She has a lot of good commentary experience. She's worked with both Wizards and Riot, on top of being a good, consistent content creator. Sure. It is unfortunate that we only had one fetch for the crab. The Field of Ruin is like a fetch if we like look at it sideways, right? You squint a little bit. I don't know. I actually think there's a number of decks in the format where like push isn't that stellar, which is why I'm playing some counter spells. For example, going back to the Elementals deck, Risen Reef happens there too, and Risen Reef frequently draws them multiple cards. The turn it happens. But on lands, thanks for the 2/3 of a year. So they shouldn't have Veil of Summer. They could have like a Mystic Dispute here. Morning. No fire, no steel. Opponent has activated our trap cards here, which is nice. 52 cards their deck. Hopefully they're going to have 26 here in a minute. We commented on them lightly, Lance. I like the direction that they moved in terms of they did a lot of side grades for Pokemon, where they nerfed some abilities, but they buffed other less used abilities. They're obviously trying to work towards making it appealing to use all of the attacks on all of the Pokemon in different situations. Because like in a perfectly balanced world, not only would all of the Pokemon be viable, but all of their attacks would be viable in different configurations, which is a pretty big balancing ask. But if they work at it, it's definitely possible. All right, I'm gonna surgically extract this endurance before we play the next archive trap. They have Blood Moon. Yep. Blood Moon could get us. Blood Moon into Violent Outburst will get us good. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing a bunch of matchups where Fatal Push is good, you should definitely play for Fatal Push. Especially if you're playing a deck like this at locals, for example. Let's start with Visions, because we could draw Fetch Land for a basic. Nice. It's a shame we didn't draw another Surgical to take their Crashing Foothills. So I do have 4 basic islands in my deck. So I'll grab one of those. Opponent's down to 19 cards in their deck. So basic islands and surgical extractions are good draws next turn, because surgical would let us take their rhinos away after they Blood Moon us. They drew a fetch land. Yikes, that's so good for them. Because now they can Blood Moon and keep both their colors. Yeah, it's unfortunate. All right, so 3 basic islands, 3 surgicals are good draws. We do at least have mountains that get to come into play. They have Violent Outburst, Subtlety, and then Basic Mountain in hand right now, so they can't cast Subtlety on this. I don't know what they're thinking about. They are down to 14 cards in deck. We just milled another Crashing Foothills. I believe they have 1 left, though, still. And 8 power is going to kill us relatively quickly. If we draw a Basic Island, the Hideous Laughter is lethal, most likely. Alongside the Crab. Is Historic Horizons fully spoiled? I don't know. Yeah, if they draw the 3rd Crashing Footfalls, that would be perfect for us. The fact that the opponent's in the tank here again probably means they're just doing something else while they play, because Moto opponents like to waste your time. That's just how it goes. They're going to Violent Outburst into turn to make some rhinos. Unfortunately, do not have a basic swamp. This draw does mean that drawing basic swamp is better for us, though, because it means it buys us time. Wow, pretty big punt from the opponent here that wasn't punished. We could have milled their last Crashing Footfalls. They definitely should have Violent Outbursted in response to our mill trigger. All right, so one swamp, 3 islands as good draws here. Man, are we gonna be 1 card short? I could still draw swamp. This puts them to 1 card in deck. I'm not dead on board, right? Because we have the 3 toughness crab. We are dead to another copy of Violent Outburst being cast fairly. Ah, papi! Papi! Beep 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 beep. Listen, chat. If you end the game with more than 1 point of life, then you didn't use all your resources as efficiently as you possibly could have. It's good, just good TV right there. Man, we're gonna have to play this one again, aren't we? This deck was actually pretty sweet. It's all been uphill since we beat the Soul Flare deck. It's been fantastic. No, I think this deck's legitimately good, Rifle Mike. Like, it has a number of 5-0s and has posted results in the various modern challenges. It is super, super reasonable. What was our mistake against John? There was just a ton of little mistakes and the little things that I missed in terms of sequencing, and I was sideboarded incorrectly. You should go back and watch, but it's a good learning game. There are a lot of little things I pointed out that I ended up flubbing due to a lack of experience and playing too quickly. We have enough new subscribers that like everyone being a mod isn't something that's going to happen anytime particularly soon. Ever, probably ever. There's enough people rotating in and out. Can you explain why I kept it? Can you explain why you would get rid of it? What's wrong with it? I've got lands, I've got spells. This hand doesn't race to mill my opponent particularly quickly, but I also don't need to race to mill them in every single game. Our deck is a control deck at its core. I mean, there's a modern Soul Flare deck the same way there's a Soul Flare deck in any format. I mean, I have two cheap pieces of interaction right here. So again, my deck's not like Burn in that all I'm doing is racing and being linear. This deck is good in part because it's an interactive deck as well. Now we just field them off the Urza Saga here, right? Before it can make a second construct. Another thing to consider too, if you want more than just what our current deck is, while this current opponent is obviously playing Hammer Time and not a black-based discard deck, I think in the dark, you should assume Lurrus opponents are discard decks, and mulliganing for a good curve against a deck that's likely to Thoughtseize or Inquisition you is generally speaking a fool's errand. It is almost always incorrect to mulligan aggressively against decks that are playing discard spells. Man, you just have Hammer in hand. Right, is your last card a hammer? Is it hammer time? It's always fucking hammer, chat. Oh, it's actually lethal. I didn't count. Fuck. I didn't block the sentinel because I didn't want to lose my crab to the hammer, but I didn't count that it was gonna be lethal. God, we were gonna win this game too. Man, that's a pretty big punt. Things like that, chat, where I just like didn't count and died because I didn't count. Blah. So opponent's draw was very good there, but I think we were in a very good position to win that game if I take a second and count. Yeah, definitely, Scissor. Thanks for the biddies. Yeah, Fractured Sanity is better than Glimpse. The flexibility of being able to draw a card is important, and milling 14 is more than milling 10. I'm not confident of a lot of things in this deck, but I am confident that these 20 cards you should be playing. These cards, I don't know. This you should probably be playing too. These are probably 24 uncuttables. Don't cut these. These are really good. These probably can be mostly whatever you want. Visions is good too. I'm actually not convinced that Visions from Beyond is good. I think because Hideous Laughter is good, Visions gets worse. Really doesn't seem like a surgical matchup. I don't know. Why do I need to refill? What are we refilling from? That's fine. This is probably a cycle fraying sanity on 2. I'm gonna hold the fetch land for down the line since I have 3 other lands that cast my spells, just in case we draw one of our crabs. Man. Man, I'm a little tilted over how much we were gonna win that first game if I had counted and played around the hammer. I guess we would have gone to 1, and then I wouldn't have been able to crack my fetch. Maybe we were dead. Maybe we were dead. Maybe I'm wrong and we were dead. How many cards do you think Hideous Laughter is gonna mill in this matchup? Can we get a new record for this? Their deck is like mostly 1s and 2s. Oh. Oh, they boarded out of their companion too. What did they board in that breaks their companion rule? I think they have Lightline or an Eldrazi. We'll find out. Maybe I'm just supposed to drown this turn. I don't know. Making them draw cards technically lets us mill them an extra one. 19 cards on Laughter. No cards. Oh, yep, that's exactly what it is. They have we milled Kozilek and still got 19 cards, chat. We milled Kozilek and still got 19 cards. That's hilarious. That's fantastic. Yeah, imagine if we didn't hit the Kozilek, right? One crab, please. Fractured Sanity. The Ensnaring Bridge actually going to stop them from attacking me next turn. I'd play a land that have 3 cards in hand. It'd probably stop the Ingenious Smith, right? I'm just going to Fractured Sanity. Casting Fractured Sanity this turn. I'm pretty unlikely to die next turn. Famous last words. And this way, if I draw another mill card next turn, we can kill them. This does give them a lot of stuff in their bin for Lurrus, so we could die here. If we die here, you know, it's my mistake for punting the first game. Yep, there's the aid. Am I dead yet? We are. All right, cool. So even if I had played Bridge, we were still dead there, right? I guess I could have held up Drown in the Loch. Yeah, definitely had some slops there. I don't know. This deck was neat. It felt pretty powerful. I liked a lot of what it was doing. Just like you're kind of like I said, you're kind of like a burn deck with some interactive elements. Visions from Beyond was kind of mediocre. Yeah, the bridges. I'm not sure that I like the bridges. I kind of like the idea of the bridges just being damnations. I think next time when we run this back, we had a donation to play this again. And I think that's definitely something I do. That means you could like cut this silly Spellskite from the board as well. Probably experiment with some of these slots. I don't know that 3 counterspells was right. It might be a little bit too many. Surgical and Visions were kind of whatever. Why do you want to play Bantus instead of Damnation? I don't understand. Like I have enough other cheap interaction that I think I can survive to get to Damnation. No, yeah, I know that's what people usually do, but I think that's just because Damnation's expensive. I don't think there's a compelling reason to play Bantus for 1 less casting cost. The types of decks where 3 versus 4 is really important. You really don't want sweepers anyways. You'd rather just have like fatal pushes and drawn locks, like cheap spot removal. Damnation better than the Damnation S card that can overload. That overloads for white mana, and we're not playing white mana. All right. At any rate, let's shift gears over to some Magic Arena. We're going to kick things off there with some standard 22, and then we're going to do some deck voting for our historic deck today. I've got a couple of historic decks queued up. I'll let you all pick between them later this morning. What is legal in standard 22? The last 4 sets. All the sets that will still be legal in the fall are legal in standard 22. So Eldraine and friends are out. Yeah, it really was Pelly. The Innkeeper was a really